From the ultimate underdog story behind the ultimate underdog movie to Marvel's classic Finding a New Home and to a major step in African film criticism, welcome to the Film Mandate as we cover it all right here live on this platform. And in the very first story, Anthony Ippolito is playing the young Sylvester Stallone in I Play Rocky movie. And also, Marvel's Thunderbolts has finally landed on the Disney Plus streaming platform. And last but not the least, the African Film Press has now established an African Film Critics Prize to celebrate and bring attention to film criticism and also African cinema. We'll be talking about all these right here on the Film Mandate. My name is Papa Otu. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome back to the Film Mandate, where I bring to you movie news, reviews, and reactions, both from the African front and the international scene. And thank you for joining me for this episode of the Film Mandate. So, in our very first story, one of the interesting, amazing sports film you can ever watch in this, in when it comes to films, is the Rocky film franchise. And over the years, we've had not just one Rocky film, not just two, but we've had five Rocky films prior to the Creed films taking over and with the baton being handed over to Ran Coogler, who together with two other filmmakers have made three Creed films or spin-offs of the Rocky so far. And one of the things that most people may not be aware is as to how the whole story of Rocky came about. That is why it is termed as the ultimate underdog story behind the ultimate underdog movie. And so one of the things you need to know is that the story of Rocky actually was born out of the passion of that is Sylvester Stallone. And well, finally, there is going to be a movie behind all that which happened prior to the film Rocky 1 being made. So let's just delve right into the story right away, and it can be found in the Hollywood Reporter. And it reads that Rocky found Anthony Ippolito to play Sylvester Stallone in Amazon MGM's movie behind making of boxing classic. Peter Farrelly is directing the feature that is intended to be released in theaters, and is written by Boris Kitt. Boris Kitt. And there in your shot is Anthony Ippolito juxtaposed together with that of young Sylvester Stallone. And the resemblance is really, really striking. Very, very, it's amazing how they resemble each other. So Anthony Ippolito, who portrayed Al Pacino in the Paramount Limited series The Offer, is now tackling another famous Italian-American actor. Ippolito has nabbed the starring role in I Play Rocky, the story of the making of boxing classic Rocky being made by Amazon MGM. Peter Farrelly, the comedy helmer who won an Oscar for directing The Green Book, is directing the feature that Amazon MGM intends to release in theaters. Ippolito, who will star as a young Sylvester Stallone in the drama, the true Hollywood story about an unknown actor with an unshakable belief that he wasn't just meant to write Rocky, he was meant to be Rocky Balboa. He wasn't just meant to write, told no at every turn. Stallone bets everything on himself, holding the line on playing the lead against seemingly impossible odds. The result is the ultimate underdog story behind the ultimate underdog movie. In a fitting echo of that spirit, Ippolito is said to have pursued the path of Stallone with the same relentless drive. Upon first hearing about the project, he made an unsolicited audition tape on his own and sent it directly to the producers. That bold move ultimately led to him landing the role, mirroring the very tenacity I Play Rocky celebrates. Toby Emmerich, the former chairman of the Warner Brothers Pictures Group, and Christian Baha will produce. Peter Gamble wrote the script. Rocky, distributed by United Artists and later MGM, is one of the most iconic and financially successful sports film franchises of all time, grossing over $1.7 billion globally, including the modern Creed spin-offs. Stallone created and starred in the movies with the story of his fighting to act in the 1976 movie, which went on to win the Oscar for Best Picture, now part of Hollywood history. Ippolito played Oscar winner actor Pacino in the Paramount Plus limited series The Offer, which told a story about the making of another 1970s film classic, The Godfather. He also co-starred in Netflix's romantic drama Purple Hearts, played a younger version of Adam Sandler's character in Pixels, and appeared in David Chase's Not Fade Away. Ippolito is repped by Gesh, Untitled Entertainment, and Lichter Grossman. So that is quite an exciting movie or news developments that we have here so far. So as you can already see in the image of Anthony Ippolito, juxtaposed against Rocky Balboa, I mean, without a shadow of doubt, from just the looks alone, you would say that he's meant to play, Rocky, or young Sylvester Stallone, Italian American, actor in the movie I Play, what's it called, Rocky. And I think the interesting part of it is that I'm certain of the fact that if he doesn't have the acting chops, there was no way he was going to be handed this very crucial role. Looking at how now Amazon is determined to make not just good movies, but be a force to reckon with in the Hollywood, film machinery or industry as a whole. So that is one thing you can take for. I mean, you can take for sure that looking at the actors. The pedigree, the actor's pedigree of the film that he has directed. Let me just cross-check the name. I want to be sure about his name. So that is Peter Farrelly. I'm very certain that is the name. Yeah. So Peter Farrelly himself, who won for the film. His film, The Green Book, got nominated and won, I think, an award for not just, it won an award for, or I'm not even so sure, but it did win an award for Mashallah Ali, or nomination. I'm not so certain but the film itself actually won the Best Picture of the year, and that is quite exciting. So I'm very certain that the Anthony Ippolito won't be brought on to this production if he doesn't have not just the looks but the acting chops to deliver the performance that would really emulate the Stallone himself. So I'm sure, and I'm very certain of that. And it is very fascinating how, when he heard of the fact that the I Play Rocky is going to be made, he immediately, took to shooting and auditioning tape of himself, sent it to the producers directly with a bid to get, chosen for the role. And eventually he was chosen. And it looks like he's done that before. I mean, seeing that he played the role of young Al Pacino in The Godfather, in the making of The Godfather, which is very similar to this project, which is talking about the making of Rocky 1. it is quite interesting. And knowing that, I think his confidence, the confidence in himself, to knowing that he can, nail this role, is what perhaps got him into the door. And it's quite interesting. So, the story of Rocky in itself is quite amazing. At the time, you have Sylvester Stallone telling the story himself that he was that broke prior to even writing the script. He was that broke to the extent that he had to sell his dog, yeah, knowing that he can't take care of the dog himself. Otherwise, the dog will go hungry. And as a result of that, he was able to get some money to feed, to get something to eat. And at the time of, he went to a Muhammad Ali fight where he was so inspired by the fight that he went home and in 3 days churned out a 90-page script and sent, shopped it around with the hope that it will be, picked up or optioned and then, produced. But the interesting thing was that the condition he gave was that he's going to be attached to this project or he doesn't sell the script. He was even offered an amount of $360,000 as against his $160 in his bank account. And yet still stood his ground and believed in himself so much that he can nail this role and therefore wouldn't prefer for anybody else to play that role. And then, they were throwing names of, well, A-list actors at the time. They're talking about Burt Reynolds to star in that role. And he stood his ground, and eventually United Artists at the time offered him $1 million to go produce the movie. What fascinates me about this role project was that after he shot a movie and then the movie was premiered to the Directors Guild of America, which they were numbering 900 people in the cinemas. He did say that after the movie, nobody clapped and they just filed out of the cinema hall. And he said that, he was so embarrassed, buried his face in his palms and wondering what has he done, because he felt like, no, every director, I think at a point in time, particularly a first time director, would wonder whether the film he's done is up to par. And the amazing thing that happened was that after he, pondered over all that which transpired and what he could have done better, he exited the hall only to go down the hall and a flight of stairs. There was quite a flight of stairs, and the Directors Guild of America at the time were lined up and they were waiting for him. And as he just appeared towards them, they all started applauding him, and that blew his mind. And that in itself, I think, is a wonderful premise of a story to turn into a movie on its own. And I think it would be so fantastic to see how exhilarating that moment was for young Sylvester Stallone as Anthony Ippolito, who will be playing him in that role. So I think that in itself makes quite a very interesting story. Just as if you have watched the Paramount Plus The Offer series, you would understand that the story surrounding the making of The Godfather itself was quite interesting. And I think same can be said of this particular film, I Play Rocky. Even the name for itself, the name itself plays, tells the story on its own. That Sylvester Stallone declared that I play Rocky, or perhaps nobody else. Well, I'm adding nobody else. I mean, I wasn't there when he said that, but I very much think that was perhaps a phrase that he added to it, insisting that he plays Rocky or no one else does. So that is quite an interesting thing, I must admit. And I think that with Peter Farrelly directing The Green Book, which was also, I think, a real life, it was inspired by true life events. In this very same one, which is inspired by true life events, I think it's within his field, and I think he's going to do a wonderful job with it. And I must say, listen, the film, the entire franchise, including that of Creed, has grossed over 1.7 billion. So that in itself makes it a very successful franchise. I know we live in a time and era where every movie we keep throwing, we keep throwing a billion at it that is the a benchmark of 1 billion. Otherwise, we think it's not successful, but it actually is successful comparatively to the budgets that were used in making these films. So obviously, it is a very successful franchise. Otherwise, even Creed wouldn't have happened, and even to even talk about prior, even before Creed, if it did fail at the box office, I'm sure it wouldn't they wouldn't have made up to 5 movies. So obviously, it is a very successful franchise, and I think the story behind it all would even make a much meaningful, give it a much meaningful gravitas as as we revere the film as it was. It's one of the most revered films for a first-time director who was, I mean, a very an unsuccessful actor. I mean, it's not like he wasn't an unsuccessful actor, but he wasn't really known back then. To have made a movie, and the movie was not just nominated for the best picture, but was also nominated for best actor. That is, Stallone himself was nominated for a best actor role, and also was nominated for his script, an original script screenplay, and won for best picture, which often goes to the best directors when usually it's something that goes hand in hand. That speaks as to his drive and a passion in making this work. And indeed, he made it work, and that was history. I'm excited about this story. I can keep on ranting about it over and over again. I had opportunity to watch the first one, and it is amazing. I mean, way before I was born, but it is amazing. And I must say, if you haven't, perhaps you should watch it before this film releases so that you can understand, the passion behind it all. And let me know what you think about this interesting film development about, first and foremost, Anthony Ippolito, who happened to have played Al Pacino, in the making of The Godfather in the series Paramount Plus, now coming to reprise, or no, well, reprise a similar role, but play the role of young Sylvester Stallone, another Italian American, in this movie called I Play Rocky. Let me know what you think about this, and drop your comments in the comment section below. So moving on from I Play Rocky from the States, we move on to one of the most successful film franchise, and film studio in the world, and that is Marvel. And Marvel has had successful, films back to back, and it's been amazing for quite a long time. And currently, their total run of films is around 36, 37 movies. But prior to the pandemic, they were successful in every movie they released. Yes, some movies didn't wasn't really critical, pardon me, critically acclaimed, but it was still well received by the audiences, even though some also fell below the expectations of audiences because of the fact that they have set such a high bar that we were all so enthralled by, and we were so engrossed in those cinematic fantasy world escaping movies. And unfortunately, right after the pandemic, due to reasons that we may not fully know its extent, a number of their films didn't perform well. However, after the small debacle they faced, it looks like their last two films is performing to expectations of audiences, even though the box office revenue has dipped a little compared to their, the pre-pandemic films. Now, news has it that on August 27th, which was just yesterday, the Disney Plus platform has received a Marvel Classic, and the Marvel Classic is Thunderbolts, aka the New Avengers. So let's read an article published in the Manchester Evening News, talking about this particular project. And it says that, yeah, so it says that return to form, Marvel film that fans say is a classic arrives on Disney Plus. The film was one of the franchise's best received entries in years, and is written by Liam DeBrun, a TV and celebrity writer. And there in your shot is The Thunderbolts. So a Marvel film that fans say is a classic and a return to form has arrived on Disney Plus just months after its release. It's been an odd period for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, with the franchise struggling to reach the heights of its booming 2010s. Following Avengers Endgame, which is the second highest grossing film of all time, the MCU has been trying to establish what kind of long term stories it wants to tell. On top of releasing multiple shows and experimenting with new heroes to mixed reaction from diehard fans, Kevin Feige, the president of Marvel Studios, recently admitted it's been too much. He explained to Variety, "We produced 50 hours of stories between 2007 and 2019. Since then, we've had well over 100 hours of stories in half the time. That's too much." Feige added, "I've always thought if you take success and don't experiment with it and don't risk with it, then it's not worth it." What we also ended up focusing on because of Disney Plus was expansion, and it's that expansion that I think led people to say it used to be fun, but now do I have to know everything about all of these? 2025 got off to a rough start for Marvel, with Anthony Mackie and Harrison Ford's Captain America Brave New World teared apart by critics and failing to break even. Released back in May, Thunderbolts was a team-up film that fans never knew they needed, in the vein of Guardians of the Galaxy. The MCU 36th film follows a group of anti-heroes caught in a deadly trap and forced to work together on a dangerous mission. Making up the Thunderbolts, which has a secret second title we won't spoil, is Florence Pugh's Yelena Belova, Sebastian Stan's Bucky Barnes, Wyatt Russell's John Walker, Olga Kurylenko's, I hope I got the name right, Taskmaster, Honey John Carmen's Ghost, and David Harbour's Red Guardian. Joining the group on their mission is Lewis Pullman's Bob, who has more to him than meets the surface, allowing the film to explore themes of mental health in a candid manner. With the film released on Disney Plus on Thursday, August 27th, many fans rushed to X, previously known as Twitter, to commend the Thunderbolts for showing the MCU still has plenty of riveting tales to tell. And yeah, so there's one tweet. There's a number of tweets that. So let's just read a couple of them. It says that. So there's Belovanes. Belovanes said, "Thunderbolts is out on Disney Plus. Watch this beautiful movie, please." Neb's Good Takes added, "Crazy how Thunderbolts is the best MCU movie." Jacob Fisher DF wrote, "Thunderbolts asterisk is truly fantastic. The cast has electric chemistry with each other. Florence Pugh and Lewis Pullman are the standouts, and the action sequences are very strong. And it's okay. Lol posted that Thunderbolts is just that good. Peak Marvel for me." Empire City BO commented, "Thunderbolts, #Thunderbolts is in fact a return to true Marvel Studios form and a fantastic film overall." And it says that the VL6 tuber stated that just finished watching Thunderbolts and just wow, what a legit masterpiece. This might just be the MCU movie with the most heart and soul. With the Fantastic Four first steps also going down a storm, it appears that the road to Avengers Doomsday isn't as dark as once feared. So yeah, that is quite an excitement from the viewers of the film, who have gone on Twitter to speak about their excitement about this film. And I must admit, if you haven't watched it, I think you should. You should, because Thunderbolt is not just a usual Marvel film. Yes, it is a Marvel film, I must admit, but I think it delves into much deeper level than perhaps we might have seen in most Marvel films. And I think the is it let me see if I can get the name of the director, because I'm missing the name right this moment. But one of the things, either Matt Shackman or Jake Schreiber, director of Thunderbolts, let's get a name because he's done a marvelous job of this movie, I must admit. So yeah, Jake Schreiber. So Jake Schreier, pardon me, Jake Schreier. So Jake Schreier really did a marvelous job. Just as some of the tweets have been saying, the chemistry between the characters are fantastic. I can assure you, if you get an opportunity to watch the movie, one of the strengths of the movie, even more than anything else, is the character dynamics. How each character, they are more like misfits, and not just misfits, but mostly assassins, underground world anti-heroes who come together, and the bond between them is so amazing. It's such that every character sort of understands the plight of each other, and they bonded over that, and that is quite amazing. When you watch the film, you would understand. I don't want to spoil anything, but as such films would go, they all start out as loggerheads at each other, and later on they end up bonding in ways that you cannot explain. And just as the article said, it happened in the same vein as you can find in that of what's it called, Guardians of the Galaxy, where you have misfits coming together, and then later on they bond over a mission. And that is quite an amazing film that you would want to watch. And I would agree with them that indeed it is a classic. Yes, definitely it might not be for all Marvel fans or all film uh, fans who would go and watch it. But I, for one, I think it is actually a break from the usual Marvel films where you have quick quips here and there, and I can guarantee you there are interesting quips here and there, but not just for the fun of it. It felt that it truly belonged in the film, just as the jokes in Wonder Woman that starred Chris Pine and Gal Gadot of the SWL DCEU did the jokes in there felt also right at home. So I can guarantee you the quips and the jokes there are not out of place. They really, really work well. They fit well into the fiber of the film. And I can tell you, Jake Schreier did such an amazing job of Thunderbolts. No wonder he's been tapped to direct the X-Men reboot when finally they boot it, all over again. I mean, why am I even repeating myself? Yeah, but that is quite an amazing film that you would want to honestly watch. And one of the exciting thing about the Thunderbolts is how it does not too much, but does set up what the future may be. I know the article did state that he doesn't want to spoil the new name that be given, but actually it is something that they even did on a promotional whilst the movie was still screening, they did a promotional push to announce the new name, where you had Sebastian Stan with having a couple of new posters on his shoulder, going to a bus stop and pasting over their old poster that had the name Thunderbolts asterisk with a new one that stated that what the new Avengers. And if you watch the film, at the end of the film, you have the the group of the Thunderbolts now in the Avengers mansion, where they were literally working as a team, and they are called the New Avengers, with some comedic quips here and there, where they they claim that Anthony Mackie's character was what did Anthony Mackie's character was more or less has copyrighted the name. So it is quite an interesting quip, at the end over there. But I must say that it is quite a great movie. Finally having a Marvel film that is, top tier. It may not be in the ranks of, let's say, Avengers Endgame or Infinity War, but it is still one of the good movies you can watch. Very, very good. I would even say, to an extent, even the character dynamics may be superior to that which we saw in the Avengers Endgame. Maybe. It's just a maybe. But I can guarantee you that if you get opportunity to watch it, indeed you'll be happy that you did. And if you have watched it, kindly leave your thoughts or what you thought about this particular film when you did, and leave them in the comment section below. And I think Disney Plus, as usual, belonging to Disney, of which Marvel is a subsidiary under, it is the best platform, and I'm sure a lot of people would watch it. And one of the things I've realized about showing films in the cinema before you drop it on. I mean, there are research to prove that it's going to get a lot of eyes to watch it. Well, I can't speak for 100% sure in particular with regards to Thunderbolts, but obviously, I'm sure with the fact that it had very great reviews, particularly from both critics and the audience alike, it will be of no surprise if it becomes the number one streaming movie on Disney Plus for a while. The critics rating is at 88%, whereas the audience rating is at 93% on the Rotten Tomatoes platform. So it is a beloved film, honestly, even though I think the box office they didn't really perform as well as perhaps they expected. But I'm sure they were well aware that it wouldn't do much, looking at the fact that these characters of misfits are B-level characters compared to the, let's say, the Avengers. So obviously it wouldn't receive the much attention as compared to the Avengers film. So it is all great. It would have been better if perhaps Marvel was on top performance prior to that movie and it was released. That could have perhaps shot up into the stratosphere of the 600 million plus, box office revenue. But all too good, it still shows that Marvel still have it. They still have the magic Midas touch, and we hope that that will continue going forward. It is said that Fantastic Four film is also equally good. So it means that it looks like they are writing the course of the films that they've been making. We hope that they do same. I'm a film fan, and I hope that every film studio does well because then we get to have quality storytelling being told all the time. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below with regards to this story. And also moving on from the States to Africa, it's been a while since, I mean, it's not just been a while, but perhaps in the life of African cinema, perhaps there's never been this done ever before. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about um, a film critic prize, being set up to help bring attention to film journalists and to also help bring much needed publicity to the films produced in Africa. And I, for one, I'm excited about it that this is being done. Not because now I'm literally a film journalist of a sort. I wouldn't even consider myself that because I just started in March, and I'm literally finding my way. But I'm excited about this because I, for one, did take upon this mantle to do because I feel like much needed attention ought to be brought to films that people love, particularly African films. And I'm still finding my niche, trying to balance the African films with the foreign films. It is my hope that someday soon I can be able to gather and tell more African stories equally to what I bring from the foreign stories. So, but currently, what I do is to talk about global cinema, whether from Hollywood, India, wherever it may be. I talk about them, but I don't leave my African home turf out of it. And soon enough, I'm hoping to even the scale and even tell more African stories about films. And I'm excited about this project because this project is to bring much needed attention to film criticisms. I sometimes think that most people think that criticism is bad. Well, it is bad when perhaps unwarranted criticisms are levied against the film before it is actually seen, or because or against someone without backing it with actual facts. What I believe in is that whatever criticism it may be, it has to be constructive, because the whole idea of criticism is to help, let people in the industry shape up and be better rather than, tear them down. That is not how I believe film criticism should be. It is my preference though. But one thing that you can be assured of is that Deadline has reported that the African Film Press has instituted, has instituted what we call the Critics Prize Award. So FIPRESCI inspired Pan-African AFP Critics Prize launches, and this is written by Melanie Goodfellow. So it says that African Film Press, AFP, an alliance of independent Africa-focused film platforms, has launched the AFP Critics Prize, taking inspiration from the long-running FIPRESCI award created by the International Federation of Film Critics in 1930. The film prize is part of AFP's drive to support critics and filmmakers across the African continent. The inaugural award will debut in Lagos, Nigeria in December at the Shuriel 16 Film Festival X16, the Pan-African art house event founded by Nigerian filmmakers Albert T. Makama, CJ Fari Obasi, and Michael Omonua in 2021, following their collaboration on the Locarno selected anthology film Juju Stories. So it says that we see the AFP Critics Prize as an important step in centering African critical voices in Africa and festival culture, while also creating visibility and recognition for filmmakers on the continent, said AFP co-founder Tambe Obenson. Shuriel 16 was the natural place to begin. The timing aligned and their focus on bold, independent storytelling made it the right partner for launching the prize. AFP was founded in 2024 and brings together three established platforms: Okoroko, Pan-African and Global Industry Focus, Cinema Focus, Kenya and East Africa, and What Kept Me Up, Nigeria and the Anglophone West Africa. Additionally, additional regional partners are set to join in the coming months, including a new platform focused on Southern Africa, which launches in September. The creation of AFP was supported by funding from German development agency Deutsche Gesellschaft für International Zusammen, GIZ. Let me just keep it for short. I just wasn't getting it right, so pardon me. So as well as the early stage investment from private backers. The first recipients of the initiative is building a Pan-African network of film journalists and critics dedicated to covering and analyzing Africa's screen industries and to elevating public discourse around African cinema from within. The first recipients of the new prize will be selected by AFP's three founding editors, Tambe Obenson Okoroko, Jennifer Ochien, that Cinema Focus, and Ikiade Oriade, What Kept Me Up, with the aim of extending editions to a wider pool of African and diaspora critics. So the award will include a cash prize, a trophy, and a certificate. We are excited the inaugural AFP Critics Prize will be presented at Shuriel 16. From the beginning, our festival has been about creating space for risk-taking and originality, and partnering with African Film Press ensures African critics are part of shaping that conversation, said Obasi, whose credits include Sundance, titled Mami Wata, which was Nigeria's submission to the 2024 Oscars. The partnership with Surreal 16 will be the first several planned collaborations with AFP aiming to award the prize at four African festivals annually. So there is some good news here for the African continent with regards to film criticism and also enough publicity for the African films on the continent. And personally, I must say I'm excited about this, not because I'm within the space, but I'm also a filmmaker, and most often than not, we look up to what we see in the West being done, and we are excited about it. And for now, there's a couple of well organized film festivals, from the FESPACOs to the AMA Awards to the NCVA, the one organized in South Africa. They are very prestigious awards. But in regards to film criticisms or film journalism, there haven't been one, and finally there's going to be one. And I think it is something good that would encourage a lot of people to even go into that space, or even those who are already in it, to hone their craft well and bring the much needed attention for the industry, with their efforts being recognized as well. Because sometimes to be in this space, it can feel quite lonely when you do stories and it seems as if it's not even hitting, anywhere. But I think film journalism is equally important to other social matters that are covered, on the web or in the printed media or on television. So regardless, I think this is indeed a good thing being done. And I'm glad that they use the FIPRECI award model to do this for Africa almost 100 years later. But I'm glad that it's been started. And I should commend the those who have come together, the forms of Okoroko, Cinema Focus, and what kept me up for instituting this. And I'm glad they are uniting the African front. That is one thing I've always advocated for, to have a united African film market. And it starts from initiatives like this. And my hope is that these things won't stop at just even the Critics Prize. It will go to even the market itself. We should have a regional market, a continental market, I should say. And I'm excited about this. This is the step in the right direction towards having an integrated film industry from all over the continent. Yes, individual countries should still maintain their identity with regards to their film industries, but we need to unite the film markets just as the countries are united under the banner of AU and others. But we can do a better job with the film industry, and I think we should do it. And I'm happy as to this development. I am really, really excited about this, and kudos to those who have made that a possibility. And I think this mission would indeed bring a lot of visibility to filmmakers, because then a lot of people will not just talk about the films being made, but would also talk about the industry and the things that could be done to help build the African film industry. And I think much needed attention ought to be brought to the filmmakers themselves, just as you see the likes of the deadlines. I mean, most of these sites that I read articles from, they are doing. I like what my fellow respected, one of the best, if I think the best critic in Ghana, Tony Ankoma, is doing with his platform. I think his platform is GH. As a media, movie freak, ghmoviefreak.com. And he's one of the forerunners of, film criticism in Ghana. I don't think he's the forerunner, but he's one of them, and he's doing a good job of it. Even yesterday, I happened to present one of my articles from his website, and it was quite, powerfully worded. So this is indeed a good direction that they're heading to. And come December, the first one will be organized December at the Surreal 16 Film Festival in Lagos. So I'm really looking forward to that and see what will come out of it. My hope is that it's organized very well, and it will integrate all Africans to unite under the banner and make it as successful as it should be. And the AFP co-founder, Tambeo Benson, said something that I think is amazing. He said, "We see the AFP Critics Prize as an important step in centering African critical voices, and that is good. That is good. That would unite African critics, and help bring much needed attention to the work they are doing, because critics indeed help shape up the film industry that we are faced with, and it's something that is commendable, because just as you have pundits on television talking about, criticizing politicians or analyzing socio-economic situations, film critics also help shape up the industry in more ways than you can ever imagine. So that is indeed good. One of the sites you always go and find, critics talking about films is Rotten Tomatoes. And now Rotten Tomatoes is revered as one of the topmost, websites for, for a film metric. If you want to know whether a film is worth it to be watched or not, that is the site to go to. It always doesn't it is a barometer indeed to measure, but film watching is actually a subjective experience where a film that may work for one person may not work for another. So sometimes it may not really be as the critics may say or as the audience may prefer. But it being a subjective experience, you may like a film that I may not like. I may like a film that you may not like. So that is acceptable. But all in all, it has become a barometer to really tell whether how much people may like a film or dislike a film. So it is indeed a good thing, and it's been done in the right direction. And I think this indeed would help the ecosystem in Africa as it is really needed, because once these things are put in place, it will help shape up the industry and whet people's appetite to get, to have more information on the industry in Africa and the countries that, constitutes it. So that is something I'm excited about, and I'm looking forward to this being done. But all in all, let me know your thoughts with regards to this AFP, the African Film Press, setting up this Film Critics Prize Award for African criticism of films, and also to bring much needed publicity to filmmakers on the continent. Let me know your thoughts in this particular story. But last and not the least, one of the things I would like to understand is that we need to all help to make this a possibility. I think this being organized is amazing, but not just that, but from the very first story that I brought up, Rocky. I play Rocky. It's something that perhaps would indeed get fans excited, particularly those of the Rocky franchises. And also to have Marvel continuing to do quality films is one thing that I'm excited about. The Thunderbolt film is indeed an exciting film, and I hope that it will continue on that trajectory. But last and not the least is the African, film press instituting this particular prize would indeed help whip up the production value of films, when sometimes a lot of filmmakers take for granted that audiences watching can appreciate quality films, and film criticism can help, make it possible, can help boost, production values for their films. So all in all, I've come to an end to this particular, episode of the Film Monday. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode, and indeed, I appreciate your presence. But tomorrow we'll also have another section, and I'd like you to join me for that one as well. I would like you to take note that from Sunday to Thursday at 11:45 p.m. GMT, I organize this live stream right here from my studio. So I'll be happy to always have you join me live and send in your questions so that I can, acknowledge you live on the platform as I do this presentation. So all too soon, I've come to an end, and thank you once again, and I'll come your way again with another exciting episode of the Film Mandate. My name is Papa Otu, and I'll see you soon.